So first, I'll start off with like the intent of this presentation is just a really superficial kind of overview of all the different aspects of SEO. And ultimately, like what we're trying to accomplish when we're talking about this kind of like niche industry is just understanding your audience and figuring out how to connect with them at the right time, which is usually when they're searching for something in Google. So quick agenda, we're going to talk about what is SEO and why it's important. We're going to start with a basic checklist, and I'm going to go through each step of the checklist with you and talk about how you can do each of these like activities. I know you guys just did a content strategy workshop, which is really amazing. So you have a really strong foundation of how to think about your content as it relates to your businesses. And I'm going to try to connect the dots there between your content strategy and how to approach it from an SEO point of view so that you can really leverage the power of organic for your needs. So starting off, what and why SEO? So I hate like mnemonics. I hate like, three-letter acronyms, but SEO just stands for search engine optimization. And all that means is we're optimizing for search engines. We're helping your site get found in the search results of any search engine, whether that be Google, whether that be some other search engine. And the way that we optimize and help improve your positioning in search results is by manipulating some of the variables on your site and off of your site that help Google decide who to prioritize, who to show first in a search ranking. And ultimately, it's just another marketing technique in your tool belt. But I would say that SEO to me is one of the really most powerful forms of marketing. I think I've worked in a lot of different fields of marketing, and a lot of marketing I feel like is attacking someone like when they're least expecting it, like you send them an ad or you like, you're like posting social media things. It's kind of like you're reaching out and trying to capture people in a moment where like they're not necessarily looking for you. Whereas organic search is probably the one instance in marketing where you're actually connecting with someone at a moment where they're expressing interest. They're saying, hey, I'm interested in learning about this topic, and they're typing it into google.com. So that's like really a key moment where you can take advantage of an opportunity, and this person already has a certain intent, so they have a certain interest in a topic. You can try to connect with them in a way more natural way, and in a way where like they're ready to receive that message you're trying to send. And in general, because of the nature of organic search, I call it organic search. It's basically, when I say organic search, it is relating to SEO, and basically organic search is the opposite of paid search. So it's kind of like, if you think about it, like it's not artificial, right? It's organic. It's naturally occurring search interest. Because of the nature of organic search, it leads to better quality of customers coming into your site through a Google search result. And it also leads to, because of the higher quality of those people, tends to be like a higher chance of conversion. And as I mentioned, it's just one tool in your arsenal. So you also have things like paid ads, social media posts, emails, events, PR, word of mouth. These are all other great marketing techniques. They all have a time and a place, but organic also has a very unique kind of power in this tool belt. And ultimately, the reason why SEO is so powerful is because it's free. It's not something that you're going to keep pumping money into in order to keep getting output. Obviously, you have to invest your time and efforts and attention in order to make the most of your organic performance. But ultimately, it's not something where like you have to keep adding money to it every month in order to see results like a paid ad. Search, as I mentioned, is the best way to connect with customers who may be looking for things that are in your category or looking for products like yours to solve their problems. And it's important to think about because SEO strategies have an impact on how you may want to structure your site and your content. So it can't be something that you think about as an afterthought or after you've built everything out. It's never too late to start, but the sooner you start, the sooner that you can really like structure things in the right way to make the most of your organic performance. And it is definitely a long-term strategy. So it is a thing that if you invest in over time, you'll reap the rewards over time. So better to start sooner. So some like powerful kind of like things I like to show here. This is a really like interesting analogy. I think it's just really helpful to understand how these different factors fit together in terms of marketing. But let's imagine your website is like a little boat and you're trying to, push it forward towards your destination, which is growing your business, getting more traffic, getting more customers, getting more sales, conversions, etc. Um, so the more that you move the boat, the farther along your business is progressing. And there's quite a few different mechanisms that you can use in order to progress your boat forward. So you'll see that starting on the left side here, paid is like this, like, gas engine. It's really powerful. The second that you put some gas in and you turn it on, it can propel your boat forward really quickly, and you'll get a lot of traffic. You got a lot of interest from it. But it's also something that consumes resources consistently, right? So you have to keep buying gas. You have to keep filling it with gas in order to keep getting that forward momentum. Then you also have other tools like email and social. And think about like these are kinds of strategies where you have to keep investing resources over time, consistently sending out emails, consistently sending out social posts. These are kind of like the oars that are just like regular practices that you're doing to move your boat forward 1 inch at a time. You can think of the current as like the natural kind of movement of branding. So like as over time, as your boat moves forward, maybe, there's certain waves that come and there's like a natural current, word of mouth, like as people are becoming more aware of your business, there's probably some natural ways that your boat gets moved forward without you having to do much. But that current is also kind of like come and go. And in the same way, SEO is like the sail. It doesn't require any extra investment. But once you have it set up, it can capture the wins as they're coming in. So the various search interest over time. And it's a more sustainable way of capturing this like natural resource, which is like natural searchers and search intent, and using that to move your boat forward. So it's all coming together to kind of push you forward, but each of these mediums has like a different purpose and also a different level of resource consumption, level of investment, and outcome. And I also think this chart here is really powerful just to show that this is like average engagement rate by traffic source based off of like Google Analytics data. And you'll see that based off of like which channel your traffic is coming in from, it has like different levels of engagement with like, someone comes into your site and they actually like want to click on something, they actually engage with something on your page. So you'll see that across all these different channels, organic search is the highest. And it's just a really powerful way of, connecting with someone who is interested in your product. Interesting. Dawn mentioned a TikTok post asking if SEO is still necessary. I have some opinions about this. I'll save them towards the end because I have some things, but I think ultimately, no matter what AI does or the future of search, the future of whatever it does, there will always be this kind of natural push and pull, like customers' interest and your ability to capture that interest. Maybe it comes through in different formats and platforms and vehicles now. Like there's like Amazon search, or there's like people search things on TikTok now as like their way of research. But either way, it's the principles that I'm going to teach here, I think, are mostly the same. But maybe we just apply them in different ways. Okay, so moving on to kind of more of the nitty gritty. I think this example maybe feels a little bit more real if I ask you guys to pull up a different tab right now and just enter a search term that you think someone would search for to find your business. So if you want to just like do that on the side, feel free. But I think it's a helpful way to kind of put this into like real world example. So anatomy of a search results page. When you search something in Google, this is how things show up. So you'll see that there's a few different main components here. The thing that you typed in at the top is what we call the search query. And in general, we can also call these keywords, or sometimes people refer to them as topics if it's like representing a general idea. So this is kind of just like what someone enters in to the search bar. And then you'll see that whatever your search results screen looks like, there's a few different sections. So at the top is the paid search ads. So obviously you pay for these, show up at the top. Google also tends to prioritize these based off of what's most relevant for a search query. So there's a few things, but optimizing your organic search will also improve your paid search results here if you are running paid ads. And also for organic, it tends to be the case that people, I feel like we're all guilty of this. You search for something and you just like gloss over the top 3 because you're like, oh, they're ads. Like I kind of want to ignore. So it tends to be the case that a lot more attention is actually directed not only to like these top paid search ads, but also to the first organic ones underneath. So I say that just to be clear, like not to discount, like just because this thing is at the top doesn't mean it's the only thing people pay attention to. After the paid search results, sometimes there's these specialized result types. So these are kind of like rich formats that Google tries to use to capture your attention, serve you the most relevant thing at the right time. And these can come in a variety of formats. So I'll get more into this later, but there are techniques that we can use to try to like boost your ability to show up in these like kind of like rich result types. These can be images, these can be like local packs, these can look like a variety of ways. And then after that is the organic search results. So they're all the things below this point. And these are kind of like your standard like title and a link and some like description text. The important thing to note here is that in order for Google to ingest these, we have to tag them a certain way so that Google knows like this is what I want you to say when you want to put me in the search results. So we call this like tagging of this title and this description, the meta title and the meta description. Sometimes you'll see that verbiage used in like Wix, in Squarespace, wherever you're building your website. So I think it's just helpful to have that vocab. And the other thing here is ranking. So when we talk about ranking, we're talking about what number you show up in the search results here. If it's like first, like rank number 1, rank number 2, just the ordering, because the ordering does matter a lot. If you just naturally think about how you look at search results in a Google page, it tends to be like you probably like pay attention to the top 2, top 3, and then you kind of gloss over the rest. Or maybe you like look down a little bit more, but you usually don't go past like the first page. So that's really important because higher ranks just means more eyeballs, right? So yeah, these are just like some quick vocab and like just orienting you to the world of organic search. So when we talk about how we actually improve our performance on organic search, we have to understand how Google actually makes these decisions of deciding what thing to show when to someone searching. And it usually comes in, there's all these different acronyms and like shortened things, but what Google is really looking for is like they're trying to give the person searching the best results possible. And to them, like some of the main indicators of giving someone the best result are relevance. So trying to find pages that are most relevant to what exactly that person is searching for. Like if you can picture they're searching for something really niche, like cranberry sauce recipe for one person to make at home. Like, they're going to want to try to find you the right page that hits all those like things that someone is looking for. So relevance is like the most important thing. But also Google wants to look for quality. So they want to make sure that this is like a high quality source they're recommending you to look at, not like a fake page that's just full of keywords, but like no substance, no information. Another aspect of quality here is Google tries to understand how reputable a page is by how many other pages link to it. So this is the concept called backlinks, which is basically like how much do other sites link to your site? You can imagine, if you are like wikipedia.com, you probably have a lot of people linking to a Wikipedia page, and that boosts the credibility of something like a Wikipedia page. And like, big like government websites or like, these like institutional sites, they all tend to have a lot of links going to them. So in the same way, links is a way to build up your authority in Google's eyes. Yeah. There's also a lot of other like nuances that I won't get too deep into, but things like usability, if your site is nice to use, if it loads really quickly, if it's optimized for mobile, those things matter to Google so that they deliver a good user experience to the person searching. Also location targeting. If someone is searching for like dinner near me and they're in Pittsburgh, obviously Google is going to try to figure out their location and match them up with the best results for where exactly they are geographically. Also, other factors like search history, what does that person search for in the past and what have they actually clicked on, and performance, like what are the pages that are performing the best when Google serves them as a result in a specific search query. So those are all, kind of common sense, but also it's helpful to kind of see it all drawn out of there's all these kind of like aspects of logic that go into Google's secret sauce. So for our purposes, when we look at our own sites and we think about the areas that we can improve, I try to just break them out into a few buckets so that they're a little easier to digest because there's all these different factors. But these are kind of like the main four that I try to like organize in my head. The first one is website setup. You guys are already in great hands with this with Rebloom, but basically just having a really like nicely structured site, easy to use, optimized, performant, etc. So those are more kind of like just like website structure. Content, we'll spend a lot more time on this, but basically does the content on the site, like the text, the images, does it connect with what someone might be looking for? Technical, so this is it sounds kind of intimidating, like technical SEO, what is that? But it's basically at the core of it labeling site data in a way that Google can understand easily. Like we looked at those, you saw like those like fancy like result types in that earlier screen. Basically, we want to label our site information in a way that's friendly for Google to read. So it can be like, oh, okay, I see that, this page is about a how-to, and these are the 5 steps for it. And it will try to push those accordingly. And finally, this last area, external linking. Like I mentioned, backlinks is a really good way to build credibility and establish that you are like a reputable source. So this is kind of outside of your site, but getting other sites like your partners or maybe like relevant local businesses to link to your site can be a great way outside of your site where you're building credibility. Any questions so far? I know this is like a lot of content. I promise it gets a little less dense after this.
No questions.
Awesome. Cool. Then I will keep going. So just having a little interactive moment. What is your biggest challenge with SEO right now? It could be just that you don't really know how to do it. It could be like something more specific. Would love for you guys to just post in the chat with what are your struggles when trying to understand SEO, understand how to do SEO.
I know for me, I wasn't sure what to say. Like if it should just be keywords, if it should be a long paragraph description, or like just what should it actually be?
Yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. It's like it's hard because like there's just never like a right answer, and sometimes like different purposes for different purposes, maybe sometimes people want the short version or they want the long version. Um, yeah, but I will get into that. I'll get into some ways that we can use data and we can use our performance to kind of figure out the right answer. And there's some really easy and free tools that we can use to get the answer to that. I'm seeing some answers in the chat, just how to utilize it, how to do it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we should definitely be able to hit on some of those themes today. Okay, so to the point of how do we do it? I think this is the most basic SEO checklist that will just get you, it's not too hard, but it will get you all the basics that you need to know in order to get going. So basic SEO checklist. First, set up your tooling. So that's your analytics that you're using with like your website builder. Google Search Console is an amazing, amazing tool. I'll get into that. We're gonna look at kind of like those various strategies I talked about. So first, site versus technical, kind of like the more like site structure things. Then we're going to talk about keyword research. So basically like looking at the world of SEO around you and figuring out where you fit in. We're going to talk about content a little bit and how to make SEO part of your content strategy workflow. And then we're going to also talk about setting up a work process. So optimizing the site and content of how do you like look at the performance? How do you make improvements? How do you build it into your habits? And some other techniques. Sorry, I know this is a lot of tools on like words on a slide, but I just want to have it one place for you so you can reference later and be like, okay, this is the one thing I need to look at. But let's start with the basics. So setting up tools. So Abby will share this presentation after, so you can have all these great links. But my favorite place to start with everything SEO is Google Search Console. And Google Search Console is basically, I feel like everything that Google does, it's like their proprietary data, so it's just the most reliable. And it is the one place where you can actually see what people are typing in and seeing your page for. So it's really insightful in terms of seeing like, oh, these are the exact search queries that people type in to get my site. And you'll have the best view there of how much traffic you're actually getting from organic SEO sources. There's also some other tools like SEMrush that you can use to do basic reviews, but that's, I think, less interesting. So I'll just show you, this is a quick view of what Google Search Console looks like. So let's say this is like for your site called Megalithic. And there is kind of some more technical stuff in here, like sitemaps. You don't have to worry about this as much because you guys are all using website builders that kind of take care of this for you. So all that's really interesting for you primarily is there's like this performance area where you can see queries. And here you can see what exactly people type into Google to see your site and how are they like finding your site from Google search. And you'll be able to see like impressions, how many people saw your page and how many people actually clicked it. All this like great performance data. You can also, there's other tabs here. You can see which pages are the most popular, countries and devices where you're most popular in search results. So yeah, that is a really great resource. And Charlotte, your question about, do I have to worry about MS Bing? Yes. Great answer, Abby. Yeah, so Bing, like, yes, definitely it is another search engine and it like comes and goes in terms of popularity. There was like recently Bing added AI to their search and then everyone like was obsessed with Bing and then they like Google added AI to their search too. So I would say if you have limited energy and time, just focus on one. I think the techniques that you use probably are gonna, if you're boosting your Google performance by like making a high quality site with high quality content, I think it will most likely improve your Bing search performance as well. So, it's kind of like the techniques are the techniques. It's about building quality content and the people will come wherever they come from. Cool. So I will move on to technical. And here I would say that I wouldn't worry too much about the technical aspects because you guys are all using website builders like Squarespace and Wix. They all tend to have really good tooling for SEO because they know it's something really important for their users. So, whatever you're using, like you should have some sort of like a SEO audit solution within your website builder. And you should be able to kind of like run some checks, get like a step-by-step guide. I think just starting there is already a great place to kind of square away all the basics of your technical. And these website builders tend to take care of a lot of like the hairy details for you. Um, like I mentioned before, there's kind of like these like technical aspects of like things that are tagged on your site that are tagged for the search page. Um, like the meta description and title tags and things like that. So all you need to know is that there should be some sort of like an SEO section inside your tools where you're able to manipulate these. And in terms of best practices here, there are some. Basically, it's kind of what you would expect. Try to keep things short and sweet. Keep it focused on like the most relevant keywords. We'll talk about which are the right keywords to choose in a second. And I would say here, if you're not sure where to start out, the best thing you can do is also just look at competitors and what other people who are performing well in your space are doing, and take some inspiration from there. You know, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not inventing new SEO strategies. You can start off with like what other people have already figured out and see what people who might be ranking for the keywords you want to rank for are applying as techniques. So here's like some previews, for example, on Wix. They have like a SEO checklist where you can like go through and, you know, make your homepage visible in search results. Like there's like these very tangible ways that you can just like check things off of a list. And you'll also see here in the Wix page editor, there is a place where you can edit the title tag and meta description for search results. And Wix does a good job of annotating all of this. So just you know where to look for it. Yeah. So now we've got our tool set up. We've got, you know, our technical stuff kind of squared away. Now we can get into the meat of it, which is keyword research. So what is keyword research? It's really about just generating the best set of keywords to connect with your audience. So what and why keyword research? I think, you know, we all have this image in our heads. I constantly every day I'm like surprised. You know, I think I know how people talk and what people search for. I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, when people search for this thing, they would put, you know, cranberry recipe. And then you look at the data or you look at like, you know, what actually is real and you're like, oh, people talk about this in a totally different way than I expect. Or maybe they're asking questions about like things I didn't even think. So the idea is that like we can't just go off of like our gut assumptions, and we need to explore the keywords that are most relevant for your business so that we can figure out how your audience talks about certain things, the vocab that they use, the questions that they search for. And all of these things are really meaningful for you because they inform the way that you write about content. They inform the way that you like would write a blog post or want to you know, what you would want to create in terms of content to connect with that search interest. And how to do research, I linked some good resources, but basically there's a lot of great free tools that you can use. Google has another really great one called Keyword Planner. You need a Google Ads account to use it, but I have a Google Ads account. I put $0 into it. I just like start one up, but it helps you plan out keywords, and Google will show you like this is the level of interest in that keyword over time and how popular it is as a keyword. Other kind of like thoughts here are we're all going to kind of like start with like really general keywords and topics, right? You might like want to target a keyword like cranberry recipe, and as you can imagine, there's probably like a billion, you know, search results for that term. So one really important thing to consider is basically what's most realistic for you in terms of something that you can generate content for and get a good ranking for. And quite often that means that we're not going after the most popular, most generic version of a keyword, but we're going after something called long tail keywords. So it's like kind of like the keywords at the very, very low like levels of search interest, but the people who are searching for that specific thing, if you can find them at the right time, they're probably really, really good customers for you. So adding more specificity means that you can rank higher with less competition. And like I mentioned before, competitive research is going to be your best friend. So just, we all know how to Google stuff. Just see who else is ranking for those things you want to be ranking for, and see what they're doing right and how you can apply the same ideas. So I know you guys have looked at this kind of like sample business in the last strategy session. So I wanted to kind of like circle back and bring back this like concept and connect the dots here so you can kind of see how it all like runs end to end. So if we're bringing it back to like this small business called Earthly Adornments, it's the idea is that like they are a sustainable jewelry brand. It's about being eco-friendly and some like long-lasting jewelry. So how would we do keyword research for this business? How would we actually figure out what are the right keywords to be targeting for like the customers that we want to capture? So you can start with some ideas. Sustainable jewelry seems like a good place to start. I just typed it into the search bar. I see all these like different, added on like suggestions for more ways to like add it in detail. I also I'm in New York, so it gave me like the sustainable jewelry NYC kind of result. But let's say that this business was based in Pittsburgh. So I added Pittsburgh to the end here. And we can see that we got like a more specific search results page. And here we can see like there's actually a few businesses that are ranking pretty well for this sustainable jewelry in Pittsburgh. Like this is like a business page, this is another business page. And we also see that because it's like Pittsburgh, there's like some local options. So already we're like getting some insights. We're like seeing that like these pages are ranking well for some kind of mysterious reason. And maybe it's related to like the words that they're using and their descriptions and how they're optimizing their sites. So these are all places to dig in more. So then as a next step, what I did was I plugged in this keyword into Google Keyword Planner. This is like super simple. But I know this is like a pretty overwhelming screenshot, so I'll just start here. But all I want to show here is that Google Keyword Planner is really powerful because it gives you not only a sense of how much search interest there is in a certain word, but it also gives you other ideas for how you can zoom in, make things more specific. So you'll see like I have sustainable jewelry here. It's a super, super popular keyword. There's like 1,000 to 10,000 searches, but it's also very high competition. There's a lot of other people that are going to be ranking well for that top spot. So it's probably not a place where we want to like immediately target sustainable jewelry. However, as we like go down the list here, we see things that maybe have lower search volumes, but like they are like getting a little more specific, and we could potentially break in a little bit more easily, like ethically sourced rings. Now we're starting to get like a little more specific. And if I filter for medium and low competition, I can start to zoom in on opportunities that might be a little more realistic for me to target. So, if it's like really specific about like a certain jewelry item, or like, wedding rings, sustainably sourced. These are all potential keywords that I could go after a little bit more meaningfully with the content that I generate. So I know we're like a little short on time, so I will just kind of keep jumping through here. But feel free to chime in the chat if you have any questions. So yeah, that's just a quick overview to kind of show how you could dig in here. And maybe now I have some ideas. Okay, like ethical fair trade jewelry, ethical wedding rings. Maybe these are starting to get a little more zoomed in on ways that I want to add text to my site so that it's connecting with people in a more specific way. So now we've done research. Next is content strategy for SEO. We've already you guys have already learned a bit about content strategy overall. So all I want to say is content strategy for SEO. I'm specifically talking about optimizing and writing blog posts. That is pages on your site where you can build awareness, drive customers towards a purchase, and capture some sort of interest. Where you're also giving some more specific information. So you'll see that a lot of search results are quite informational. So they're kind of early stages of someone doing some research, oh, how to pick out ethical jewelry. So the more that you can kind of teach people, and especially you guys are all experts in your businesses and experts in your field and your niche. So you all have some wisdom to share that you could put into a blog post, cater towards a certain kind of vocab and search intent and capture these specific searchers. So yeah, use your wisdom to connect with your audience. And if you think about, the boat analogy before, how else are people going to find your site after, the social posts are done and the paid ads are campaigns are finished? Search is probably going to be one of the main drivers of people finding your site again and again over time. And I know quite a few of you guys are e-commerce sites or you're selling products. And I would say same principles kind of apply, but just when we're thinking about selling products, we also want to do the same exploration of keywords and keyword research, but also not only bring that into blog posts, but also bring that into our product pages. So like you saw in the previous keyword research slides about ethically sourced wedding rings, those are keywords you could directly add into potentially some product pages. Yeah. So I will kind of fly through this poor time management on my part today. So I'm really sorry, but basic writing steps, pretty straightforward. Think about the content that you need and how you want to position it, and think through and do research for how people actually might be searching for something that you want to be writing. If it's a blog post about how to find sustainable jewelry, figure out if that's the right way people are searching for that question. And then see what's already ranking well, see what competitors are doing. What is the length that they're using? Are they using those long titles or short titles, descriptive things or not? There's no shame in, taking inspiration from what people are already succeeding at and trying to mimic some of those strategies. Most important here, though, is after you write your content and publish it, to check back and continuously improve. So, you can always crank out more content, and it's actually kind of easy to just keep writing more blog posts or publishing more stuff, but you're never going to get a lot of growth or your potential growth kind of maximized over time. So you want to make sure that after you publish something, you also check in on a monthly basis for the first few months. And you are looking at your performance of your site overall to see which content is ranking well, which things could be improved, how can I improve them, what am I actually showing up in search results for. So case in point, this earthly adornments, they're trying to write about sustainability. Here are some ideas for how they could find content. So if you see here, eco-friendly jewelry is one potential search term. And when I plugged it into here, there's all these other sites that are on the right-hand side here that are informational blog post pages from jewelry businesses teaching people about sustainable and eco-friendly jewelry. So you'll see that this is a content strategy that is working for other people. And you can imagine it's driving a lot of people to this site because they want to know about what eco-friendly jewelry it means. So in the same way, trying to apply some of those same ideas or try to write about things in similar ways is one potential place to start. Like I mentioned before, getting more specific with long tail keywords, and also just kind of here are some other blog ideas for how to kind of connect with a searcher, like how-tos, listicles, common questions. And this is another really interesting topic that is like really new to the SEO world, but AI is blowing up right now, and it is a really, really great application for SEO specifically. It's a great way to come up with content and help you fill in and generate content more quickly. So I think it's really good for synthesizing information, analyzing keywords, editing text. But I would say AI can't do the hard work of SEO for you. It will not be able to generate new and creative ideas in the same way, right? It takes your expertise and your knowledge to figure those things out. Um, and just because it can generate a high volume of content doesn't mean it's quality, right? Like, I think we all have read like gibberish kind of that like AI has generated, and it doesn't really mean much and it's not really informational. So just making sure that you are using AI as a tool, but you're not using it as like the end all and be all of your SEO. So there's some other great free tools here or more prompts to check out. I highly recommend these. It is like another great tool in your arsenal when you're thinking about SEO content. And finally, with our last like minute, I won't go too deep into this, but basically all of your tooling has these solutions for measuring success. You can just filter down to see the traffic you're getting from organic SEO sources. You can look at like the top performing pages and what's working and what's not, establish some baseline metrics and benchmarks. And you can look at like some of these like certain metrics which reflect organic performance and things you could adjust and change over time. Yes. You can also set up tracking so you can actually pinpoint which people are purchasing through organic source. And there's other kind of like potential cost or additional investment you can make into SEO. Like I mentioned before, experimentation, there's never a right answer, but the best way to kind of approach thinking about how to build out these like SEO programs is just with some tests, some hypotheses or guesses for what you think might work better. And you can test things over time and see how they work and adjust. So yeah, that is, I know we're at time. These are some other techniques. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but I will end it here. Sorry.
It's okay, Amy. Thank you so much. We'll be here for a couple more minutes if you guys have any questions. We just wanted to be mindful of time that if you do have to leave, thank you so much for coming. Please take a moment to fill out our like 3-question survey. It's the same as the one in the past. We really appreciate the feedback, and all of this feedback gets shared with our speaker.